Welcome back. Today we're doing an attempted repair on this VHS DVD recording system. Basically what had happened to this was the owner had hit the eject button on the DVD recorder portion. The little door opened up, the tray came sliding out as it normally would, and their cat jumped off of a shelf right above this unit and decided to land on the tray, which caused the tray to snap out. It fell right out, and that was the end of that. So they brought it in to me to try to take a look at it. As you can see, they just simply duct taped the tray to the top of the unit. Nothing really looks broken right off the bat to the tray, I could see. So I'm going to go ahead and take this tape off and see what kind of condition it's in. Yeah, it looks okay. There doesn't seem to be any kind of damage in the back here. You can see there's this pinion here, a rack we'll call it, I guess it is, that is what actually makes the tray slide. There is just a little bit of grease on here. And there's also these guides here that snap into the front of the unit when it slides in and out. So this looks like this shouldn't be terribly hard to fix. I won't know until I get inside the unit to see what it looks like. But we're going to go ahead and do that. I'll spare you all the boring bits, taking all the screws out. I will point out where they are though. If I flip this over, you'll see that there are some screws here. Looks like there's 2 of them there, and then there's also 2 here on each side. So that's 6 screws total that I can see. So I'm going to go ahead and take them out right now, and we'll come back when I get to the next step. Alright, there only ended up being actually 7 screws, not 6. There was a 3rd one in the back. But once you get them out, this top will come loose, and then you should be able to just work it out. There is a little lip in the front, but that's kind of negligible. And that's pretty much it. We're in this unit. Now if you go back a few episodes ago, actually quite a few episodes now already, you notice that I did one of these repairs on an actual just straight DVD recorder. It didn't have the VHS component in it. This actually still has a tape in it. So perhaps I'll power the unit up and eject that. I mean, it shouldn't be in the way. I only need to really get to the DVD portion up here. Well, you know, I have the power cord right here in my hand, so I might as well just do that, just to get that taken care of. Now, there really isn't much difference in this, from what I can see, to see any difference between, that's kind of cool, to see any difference between this unit and the other unit, other than the fact that there's just the VHS portion here, which is, you know, an over-glorified tape deck. I mean, it's really not much different. Here is that tape. I'm going to go ahead and just unplug that again. I actually put the power cord in one of these appliance wraps here. I'm going to show you how to do these at the end of the video here, because they are a pretty handy way to wrap the power cords, and it gives it a nice professional look. But anyway, we could see that it has the same inputs and outputs, just your standard composite video, super video in, has composite and component video output, as well as S-video output, and there isn't even a HDMI output over here. And judging that HDMI output is on this top board, we can go ahead and say that this is our digital board here. Looking at it, I'll show you because I just noticed it right away. The big chip right here is a Panasonic chip. And you can see it's got the DVD, I'm sorry, the DTS and Dolby Digital decoder marks on it. But this is not a Panasonic. This is a Funai brand, as you can see, which is a no-name. I'm sure it's a name somewhere, but it's a no-name here. And other than that, I mean, it's a basic unit. Now, I do need to get to this tray here, and to get to that, I could just go ahead and lift these little plastic tabs up. I don't see any screws holding it in place. maybe a couple tabs on the side over here. I'm just going to use one of my thin bladed screwdrivers here just to pop that out. Sometimes these plastic pieces get a little finicky when you pop one part off, another part wants to pop in. So that's something to be wary of. Now, if I remember the original DVD recorder that I worked on a couple videos ago, that one had a DV input on it, you know, USB. This one doesn't seem to have any kind of USB or anything, even though this one's a little newer. But anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and pry this front cover off like I mentioned. Just hopefully these little plastic snaps just don't snap back on again. Oh, that's it. Popped right off. Now there is a wire in here, which is right over here. Hopefully I can zoom in on that and show that to you. And that it's just one of those card edge connectors that just pops right out. And we can take the front plate off. And you can see over here is the little header that wire just slips into. In the front you have your typical vacuum fluorescent display and your tactile switches and everything. Nothing really super fancy. But we do have that actual DVD tray. Now I might be able to just push this back in, actually. That actually might be it. Let me plug this in and see what happens. Be minding of the area of the polarity here. And the eject button, which actually sits right here next to the actual door, would be this top toggle right here. It says open on the display. And yeah, it's in there. It's not coming out. It sounds like it's trying to read a CD, which there is none. Let me grab a CD and see if I can get this to load properly. Alright, got myself a MP3 CD here. And we're going to see if this starts to read properly. It could have been just that easy to put in. They do just slip in from the front. CD's spinning, so it seems like everything's lined up. It is loading. So far, so good. And I don't have this hooked up to speakers or anything like that, but I can see if the CD loads at least. And it's saying there's 10 tracks on there. And it looks like the play button is this one here. It's not playing, but the CD is spinning, so that's a good enough sign to me. I'm just gonna play with this drawer just a little bit, make sure it does actually operate correctly. I mean, if the cat jumped on this, you could see how it would just pop out. I mean, that makes sense. And I can't confirm it, but I would be pretty sure that there'd be some kind of fail-safe involved in designing these where, you know, something happened to this, it's not going to catastrophically fail and just crack. It's going to have some kind of a system involved where it would just snap off, which is probably what happened. Yeah, so it looks like it's working fine, which is a good thing, obviously. I actually wanted it to be a little bit more involved, though, truthfully, because, you know, you get one of these things in your hands, and while I don't want to take the whole thing apart, I do like taking things apart, I guess you could say, and it would be nice to kind of get to look at the rest of this unit, but since I don't really have a reason to, there's no sense in poking and prodding around the bits that work, as long as we know that the bits that don't work now do. So really, it may have been just that easy. I just slid it back in the little rack and pinion system that I showed you in there, the rack being on the actual tray here, re-engaged with the gear that's on the motor drive. And it seems like it's working. The best test would be to put the front cover back on and just to make sure everything works that way. I guess I can say what I will do is, while I'm in here, is just give this a good cleaning. The VCR, I can definitely tell you, has got a lot of usage, and some of the pinch rollers in here are kind of beat up, so they could use a little cleaning. That's not something I can do immediately right now though, because it's a little late at night here and all my stuff's out in the work van, and I don't really have the capability of going out there right now and doing it. Part of the thing I will do too is get my air compressor fired up and just blow whatever dust that's out of this thing, as I typically always try to do, as I mentioned before, when I have these things open. And you know, I'll get the denatured alcohol, I'll clean those rollers off in there. I mean, that's just, it's not necessary, but I'm already here, I might as well do that. That way it also gives me the full potential to perform the most amount of work I can in this thing. I charge an hourly rate, so it doesn't matter if I open this thing up and fix that one piece, or if I open it up and redo the entire thing. If it takes me an hour, it's still the same price. Now, I know a lot of people will tell me, why don't you just replace the one thing, close it up, and take it off your desk and not worry about the other things in there? I don't operate that way. I feel like, you know, it's more value to the customer to be able to know that, hey, I gave you this thing, you had it for an hour, and you charged me an hour price, but all you did was take 10 minutes and fix it. What happened to the other 50 minutes I paid for? I mean, that's how you make your money. I'm not going to say you don't, but at the same token, I feel that it would be better for me and better for my customer if I actually gave them the full hour's time that they paid for, right? I'm not going to charge them less than that, because it's not worth my time to do that. At the same time, you know, I'm here, why not do it? Kind of mentality. So I'm going to just cut the video for now. Tomorrow morning before I go to work, I'll have the alcohol and I'll wipe all these little rollers off in here and just give this thing a good, you know, dusting, just to, you know, give it the due course that, you know, it should be given. Actually, it's kind of neat in here. I don't really get the chance to go into a lot of VCRs because, frankly, they're beyond my time. I used them as a kid, but never really had to open them up and fix anything in it. And just looking at this, it's kind of neat. You know, it's like I said, it's an over-glorified, you know, tape deck. You put the cassette in, the tape goes along its, you know, proper, you know, mounts and rollers in here and whatnot. There's a play head. There's probably an erase head. I don't know if the actual unit here has recording and playback capabilities, but it's you know, it's your standard VCR. So anyway, let me cut the film, and when the sun's up tomorrow morning, I'll go out to the shed and the van and get all the proper bits I need to finish this repair. And for now, I'm going to plug the front cover on and just play with that door a little bit just to make sure it works. I wanted to take just 2 minutes here and show you how to do what I call the appliance roll. This was something that was shown to me by my dad a long time ago, which is something that he did, and I'm sure other places do it. It's just a really neat way to organize the wire. In fact, a lot of times I noticed used to buy them and they used to come this way. But anyway, we're just going to take the power cord and try to straighten it out as much as possible. Now, this has already been wrapped up like this, and it's out for a couple days, so it's going to retain a little bit of the wrapping that I did, but we can undo that. We're just going to go along and just kind of like stretch it out here between your hands and kind of work out all the little kinks in the coil. What I'm going to do is actually just grab a bunch of it like this, and we're just going to alternate it back and forth as neatly as possible. And we're also trying to make sure the bend of the wire is going all in the same direction. And this is all about the same distance. And what we'll do is, you know, I kind of put my fingers in the loops here and just pull it tight just to make sure it's a nice little bundle. And I guess this part's kind of subjective, but you need to wrap the rest of this cord. The more you have, the better the wrap, the tighter it holds, but the harder it is to do. So I typically, you know, say like if I take this power cord and I wrap it all the way back to the end, that single wrap there should be enough, because we're going to start, you know, about a quarter of the way in from the end over here. So you just take this bundle here, you take the wire, and you just simply just wrap it around. You can go, you know, if this is one time, if you want, you can undo this back to the next nut here, and you can go back the opposite direction if you want, or, you know, I like just the one personally. You don't really see a need to go any tighter than that. I mean, it looks nicer when you have more turns on it, but it's really not necessary. And then you just take the end of the wire here and you just tuck it back into the loop. And that's it. I mean, this particular wire, it's stiff enough I don't have to do anything more with it, but if I want, I can actually slide this. And I don't know if you can pick it up on camera, but this last loop here, if you slide this whole thing, that last loop will close down and tighten right on the end. And that'll prevent the end from slipping out. Now, you could have done this, like I said, one more time, and that would have ended up over here. You know, 6 in one, half a dozen the other. The important thing is that you have this nice little bundle of wire here that just doesn't go all over the place, and you eliminate the need for a tie that way. And whoever gets this in the end can just undo that little loop there and just pop this straight back through. Pretty easy. If I want, I can show you what it looks like with one more end on there. So we'll go like this. This time we'll start it from the other end, and we'll just go around. This one doesn't come out as neat though, I noticed. It's definitely better to do the wrap starting at the cable end instead of the plug end. But this one you just wrap around like this. And this is where I mentioned you're getting more wraps out of this one. And there you go. That's the appliance cord wrap. The only way I can think of to make this any better is if the device had an actual socket in the back of it, like you're daisy chaining the power cords. And then you can actually just take this and plug it directly in, so you have this nice little packet of wire sitting back here. But yeah, that's the appliance wrap. Well, as mentioned, I took this thing outside, blew it out the air compressor. I also went ahead and cleaned all the little pinch rollers in here and whatnot with just a little rubbing alcohol on a cloth. I did that first and then blew it out afterwards just in case there was any lint created by the cloth. I also went ahead and completely cleaned the front panel here, again with isopropyl. Just make it look new, you know? So the only thing I have to do now is put it back together, which is a fairly easy endeavor. There is some pieces you have to watch out here for in the front. This is all relating to the little door in the front, and this activates the mechanism that brings the tape in once you actually have it inserted into the front of the machine here. I will point out, after I cut recording last night, I just did a little bit of poking around in here just for my own education, I guess you could say. And I noticed there's light sensors in here that detect when the cassette is actually in place or coming into place, and they activate the mechanism to, you know, suck the tape in and do its thing. Unfortunately, what was happening was, as I was trying to put the tape in, it would spit it back out, and I'm going, what the hell's going on here? Comes to find out, it's my light. My light was too bright, and it was causing those sensors to not read the tape correctly. And I figured that out after looking at it and going, there's light sensors here. Maybe I should cover it up. So I put the cover back on top of this whole thing, and this became light tight again for the most part. And it worked. It worked right away. And tested it out. Everything works good last night. I'm sure it's still going to work good today, but I will test it out one final time once I put it together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, just to spare the boring bits. Sometimes I'd never cease to amaze myself. As you can see from the empty workbench, the project was completed, assembled, and loaded into the van. Unfortunately, I came back in here and realized I forgot to do the last part of the video here. and I don't have anything to show for it. But really, there wasn't anything to show. I got the thing put back together, tested out both trays, they worked fine, plugged it to the TV, tested everything out, worked fine. So really, the only thing there was to do was just to conclude the video. So there's nothing to show, but I could just say thank you for watching. And if you're not a subscriber, please do so. That helps grow the channel. If you have any suggestions to what you'd like to see in future videos, post them down in the section below. I will definitely review those. And as always, thanks for watching.